everybody. We're going to do the last 5 years of the old bear and Bigfoot tonight. I got one thing, one public announcement I'd like to make. Um, Ladies, if you want to keep your husband happy, you need to call my wife and get her recipe for her potatoes and onions and the way she fixes steaks, the way she puts a dry rub on the steaks. Um, she just fed me, and I want to pile up in a cave somewhere and go to sleep for about 3 months. But that's beside the point. Anyway, we're going to do it, and I'm going to bring my wife in, and come on in, baby. She's going to do the interview again, and you can see she's got 2 full glasses here, and I got to rub this stuff in, so I'll do pretty good, I hope. But
Hi,
anyway, we're
everybody.
going to get to 5 years. Last 5. Turn it over to you, sweetheart.
All right.
And by the way, in the hand,
I
thank
love
you
I love you too.
for dinner.
You're welcome. Always. So, the last 5 years, I think I've been kind of involved in that a little bit with you.
Yeah.
So, start out with the first year of the last 5 years.
Okay, year 26. Well, by this time I was happily married to my beautiful wife, and we'd been married a while. And I think that was the year that I kind of told you what I had been doing over the years. Was that not the year that I told you about, going out doing investigations and helping
And helping
people?
people, yes. Yes.
But I never told you all the other details
No,
about
you
it.
did not.
But that was the year that I finally told you all of it.
Yes.
And I was in the job I have now. I'm going out west to Oregon, California, been to Arizona, pretty much all over the west. I only got how many more states? 4.
I think there's 4 more
Alaska,
states you
Hawaii.
haven't been to.
North Dakota, and
Was it Alabama?
no, I've been to Alabama once. Mississippi.
Mississippi.
I ain't been there. Not in the truck, but I've been there once before. A long time ago. And the wonderful plane flies over.
Absolutely.
We got the bugs calmed down, and now we got airplanes.
It's okay. At least we can see the sky. It's beautiful and blue.
Yeah. But anyway, that year I was getting a lot of stories from out on the road from other truck drivers. And it was starting to actually pick up a few accounts of dog men and werewolves. And I never wanted to mess with them things. Guys would see them out on the side of the road. They would come up and they would howl because the truck was idling on the side of the interstate or something. And, I was getting a lot of stories, and I think that was the year that I talked to a gentleman that lives near Pacific, Missouri. He was having a little bit of trouble with Momo, the Missouri monster. Wasn't much of a monster. But when you put the whole clan together, it was a monster because he was having trouble with him. If you go back and listen, the gentleman that I helped was the one that got slapped by a Bigfoot, by one of the Momos out there, and they injured him pretty good. He called and said he was having trouble, and when he told me they smacked him and knocked him all the way back to his porch, that was kind of upsetting to me. Kind of took that as I need to help him, and so I started taking a certain run a lot in case he got good enough or he wanted me to come. and all he had to do was come pick me up at that point, you know, from where I was at there in Pacific. And I went to his house, and one night I got out there around 4 o'clock or so in the afternoon, and called him. And at that time, I got out of the tractor, called him, fueled up, parked the truck, and he come over and picked me up, took me to his house. He's not that far from where I was parked, and maybe a 20-minute ride, 25 minutes, wasn't that far. And got over and started looking over the ground, and I was and went in his backyard, and I'm like, well, daggum, they had a trail that was as wide as this table is, and it's 5 foot. And they were, it was pretty well beaten in. They'd been coming up through there a lot. And we went down and I put some flashbangs across that trail, but it was the only trail they had coming up out of that deep gully that was down in there. And you know, he had a huge yard. It must have been 3 or 4 acres of grass that he was cutting. I felt sorry for him just cutting the grass. But he was having issues, and they'd hit him and hurt him pretty bad. It cracked some ribs and some other things to him. And that night, I told him, I said, I need to get back to the truck, you know, by about 11 o'clock so I can get some sleep, because I had to get up at 5:30
Right.
the next morning, because they accepted at 7, or I had to get up around by 6 o'clock. Had to be ready to leave by 6. So that meant getting up about 5:45, 5:30. So about 9 o'clock, he said, well, that ain't no problem. He said, as soon as it gets dark here at about 9 o'clock, they start coming. He said, they'll probably hit the first flashbang about 9:05. And dagnabbit, if he wasn't 100% right, because at 9:05, I'm sitting at the back, and I don't have a gun or nothing with me. But I have some other things that I had come up with in case they got aggressive with me. And if they got aggressive with me, I ain't afraid to stand up against them and show them who's boss. But 9:05, boom! Saw a big white light, big puff of white smoke come up out of the holler, and it wasn't but a few seconds later another one went off. Then you heard them start screaming. They hit a couple more, and the screams got weaker and weaker and weaker and weaker, and they were going further and further and further down the holler away from us. But that took care of the situation that he was in, and I was glad to help him because he needed it. And you know, the rest of the year I was just getting a lot of different stories and accounts from other drivers out on the road, and it was starting to branch out from just drivers to police officers to fire department guys, you know, firemen and paramedics, you know, seeing Bigfoot and stuff like it. And I got all those stories to put out. So don't worry about anything. We'll have some more videos coming out. Just been real super busy here lately with work. It's kind of hard to get together, and you know, we don't get to spend a lot of time together, and it makes it kind of tough. But that year, that was pretty much what I did that year.
Yeah, I remember. I mean, you would come home and tell me stories.
Yeah.
It was very busy for you.
Yeah.
For sure. And the second year? The second 27?
27.
Year 27.
That year, and my wife knows, you know, that year I was going to Oregon a lot, and I went probably, 4 or 5 times that year?
Yes.
In the beginning of the year?
Yes.
And the last time I went to Oregon was in March, and I was still getting accounts from other drivers, just not so many because I was going one certain route. There's not a lot of truck drivers that want to face all that snow in that part of the country, up through Utah and into Idaho and over into Oregon. And I was getting one about every 2 weeks or so.
Yeah.
And because that run took me 9 days.
Yes, it did.
And if it snowed, it took me 10 or 11 days. But I was out there, and I was there at the power plant, and it was about 3 o'clock in the morning. I got there about 2:30, something to 3. And the guy led me over to the silo. I knew where it was at. I'd been there a bunch of times already. And he just had to go over and make sure I hooked up and wasn't leaking and all this stuff, and that's what we did. And my wife knows this now, but the first time I told it to the group on our Discord channel, I got a funny look, like she was upset with me. And well, I was there at the plant, and I heard a howl come from the truck. Was facing this way. The silos are right here. I had walked to the back of the truck towards the silos. This would be the silo. And let me have that for you.
That's a silo size something. Oh,
That's the truck size. Maybe, if it'll stay in place. Anyway, here's the silo and here's the truck. I was standing right here, and I heard a scream come from that direction towards my wife, way over there. It's about 100 yards between me and the fence. And I heard a scream, and I was like, oh no. I'm here to do my job. Do I have to deal with these again? And it kept coming closer. And I heard a loud, like something. The fence is tight.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And it's like something just ripped the fence open.
Oh, like metal clacky.
No, it was a bone kind of sound, because when he
really?
ripped it, it ripped it apart.
Wow.
And
The strength.
yeah, and this thing comes right at me because I got truck lights on. It's lit here, 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 and here, all over the trailer, and the front lights, the headlights weren't on, but the running lights and everything on the truck and the trailer were on. This thing walks its happy butt towards me, and I'm standing there going, oh, God, Lord, I ain't got nothing. I don't have anything that, if it comes too close and it comes over here and wants to fight, I don't have anything to fight this thing with. So I picked up my 22-ounce framing hammer, and it comes over and gets almost to the front of the truck, and I guess it finally noticed me because I was standing like right here, and I was partially hidden by the trailer. Well, it stands there and it starts just like it's pissed off at me. And I'm sorry about that language. I apologize. But it was mad, and I don't know why it was mad or why it come to me or why it thought it had to come to me, because I was the only one out. All the rest of the people in the control rooms and everything inside the plant, because they're pretty much fully automated anymore. And this thing comes over and just starts huffing and growling at me, and I just look at it, and the only thing I knew to do was to scream back at it. And that's what I did. I screamed back at it, and it screamed at me. We got into a screaming match. It's kind of stupid, really. I would howl and it would howl back at me. It'd howl at me and I'd howl back at it. Like we were giving each other down the road. And finally, I did an aggressive growl at it and with a howl at the end of it. And it shut up and it looked at me real funny. And I can clearly see this thing standing there. It's almost 9 foot tall. It looked like Arnold Schwarzenegger 3 times over in its chest. And it, and it started grumbling. And it turned and it walked back over to where it came through the fence. And I was kind of happy. Didn't have nothing else to deal with. Didn't want to. And that happened to me. And then the rest of the year was pretty uneventful, except for getting stories from truckers. And other investigators started calling me that knew me. They were running into problem Bigfoot and wanted to know what to do with them. And I was giving them, hints on what to do and everything. And that's pretty much what I was doing that year, except for that one event in the early part of the year. Then, after that, it was pretty much smooth sailing for me anyway.
Well, yay. Yay.
I think that was the only time that I actually was worried encountering a Bigfoot.
That kind of got you prepared for the rest of the year in case something else happened.
Yeah.
Okay, year number 28.
Well, 28 was pretty uneventful. I actually got my wife to go out to my buddy's place. He has Bigfoot on his property. And he's in the first interview that we have on the channel. We did like a 3-part series with him. And my wife went out and she heard some sounds and got rocks thrown at me, hit me in the back, ended up in the chair right beside of me. My chair. It kind of hit me on this shoulder and it bounced and ended up in the chair. My wife was like, "What was that?" And I said, "Honey, that's a rock." She's like, "What the heck is a rock being thrown at you for?" I'm like, "Well, it's probably a Bigfoot that don't like me because I did that aggressive growl." And aggressive howl. And my wife, my buddy, I kind of liked his reaction to that. And he called it the, what is it again called?
The constipated hillbilly growl. Or yell.
Yeah. And it's kind of fun.
What color shirt were you wearing?
Red shirt. I should have known better.
And
Especially with you going.
You wore a red shirt, what happened?
They threw rocks at me. But I do it because I wear the red shirt because I know they'll pick at me. They will throw stuff at me. I don't want them throwing stuff at her or them harming her in any way, shape, or form. If they did, that would upset me greatly. And if any of them hurt my wife or one of my children or something like that, I would probably lose it and there would be no more Bigfoot. I would hunt them probably down. And I don't want to do that. I don't want to have to do that.
Yeah. That particular night, I heard huffs.
Mm-hmm.
And our friend and my husband was on the opposite side of where I was hearing them coming from. And I've never seen one, but I have heard lots and lots of their sounds that they make.
Mm-hmm. And I was still getting stories and accounts, and I was helping people. People would call me that year. People that were having trouble were starting to call me again. And because they couldn't get a hold of anybody else. And people, I'm so busy, here, call this person, and then that person would come call somebody else. Because everybody knew that I wasn't willing to go out and do these interventions between Bigfoot and human beings. I just didn't want to get into that anymore. I'm getting too old for that. I'm getting a little bit too slow for it. My reflexes ain't the greatest. My hands don't work like they should. Um, I mean, I can still pull the trigger just as fast as I want to, but that ain't the point. The point of it is, I don't want to be out there and be a detriment to someone else. I don't want to get no one else hurt, because if I make a mistake, or if I do something and I'm not fast enough to correct it, or if I'm not fast enough to, if one's getting ready to attack somebody or something, and I'm not fast enough to have to put that Bigfoot down to protect someone else's life, I don't want that on my conscience. And now, anytime I go anywhere or do anything when it comes to Bigfoot, my wife's with me, and I don't want her in there. I don't want her subjected to that type of. They can be very brutal. If when I was younger and I was going out and doing this stuff, a lot of the time I was single or married, and just tell my wife I was going catfishing or something and go and help somebody that needed it. Wasn't out running around on my wife. Never did that. Never ever wanted to do it. Trying to help people. And by this time, people were getting to the point where other investigators were running into more aggressive types of Bigfoot and having to get, do something to stop these animals from coming to these people's homes. And people would call me that year. I think I ended up helping like 8 people via the phone, helping them help themselves via the phone, and helping investigators probably 20 different times that year. It was pretty eventful in that aspect, but not me doing things. But we would still go out and do investigations out at my buddy's place, or we'd go somewhere on location to make a video or something like that, because it'd get us out of the house. And when I had time, we'd go together and do something together. It was time for me and my wife to, for her to understand what I had been doing in my life before I met her. And that was pretty much 28th year.
I noticed that you referred to them as animals.
Yeah, to me they are.
Animals.
Because they don't have the societal things that we do.
Mm-hmm.
If you get in an argument with, when I was a kid, if you got in an argument with another kid, you would fight out or holler at each other, scream at each other, whatever, and you got in a little bit of a fight or whatever. They don't do that. They try to kill you if they get upset. I've seen way too many of them try to harm people, and just because they get a little bit upset, because, for instance, you got apple trees and a plum tree in your yard. Well, they get used to that tree producing, because typically when you got those type of trees, or cherry trees or persimmon trees, they produce better around the home, because most people fertilize them, and so they'll have
A good crop going on.
right. And in the spring, if you're sick and you can't get out there, and your wife's got to work, and the husband was the one that always took care of stuff outside, and the wife, he's not going to expect his wife to go out and fertilize them trees. Well, the trees don't produce enough, and they get upset about it, because they're used to it being there,
right.
And they want to go up and start smacking your house in the fall, and
Yes.
throw rocks at you from the wood line, stuff like that, because they get upset. And sometimes they get mad to the point where they'll harm you. or they'll break a window out of your house, or they'll drive their fist through the house,
You
through
think
the wall.
do you think they think it's a way of gifting them?
Yeah, yeah. It can be a way for them to believe that you're providing food for them, and they take that very seriously. They think that you should make sure that there's always food there for them,
Right.
and they get upset about it when there's not. When
Right.
there's not enough, they get mad.
Yes.
So that was and the year in '29, was that not the year that you heard the howl here at the house one morning going out to go get us breakfast?
That was before. Yeah, before I went out to Paul's that first time, wasn't it?
No, that was after. Yeah,
Okay.
because
I was going
won't you
out.
tell them?
Yeah, one Saturday
No,
morning.
it was a Sunday
It
morning.
was a Sunday morning.
Yeah, one morning I wasn't feeling very good, and
It
we
was
didn't
like
go to
7 o'clock in the morning. Pretty daylight outside. Calm day, calm morning, kind of chilly. I walked out the front door, got about halfway down the sidewalk, and I hear what sounded like a roar. And I stopped and I listened and I heard another one. There were 3 total. They were from far off, but it was like the ones I've heard on YouTube videos. And I stopped and I just kind of looked like, okay, I know what I just heard. It was a Bigfoot hollering somewhere out here. So I turned around, walked in the door, and just stopped and looked at him. He said, "What's wrong?" I said, "I think I just heard something." He said, "What'd you hear?" And so I tried to reproduce it, but it didn't give it
Yes.
justice.
She has a melodious voice, meaning my wife can sing the pants off of most any song. And she cannot get that gravelly type sound when it's one of the big males. There is no way for her to do it. She can't even do a female one because they have somewhat of a gravelly sound in their voice too.
I can do a whoop.
Yeah, she can do a whoop and get an answer. But
But yeah, yes, that is what I heard. But they were short,
yeah,
very short.
that's just a locator for to call the other ones to come to hit. That's the type of sound that they make.
I was wondering what that was all about.
Yeah.
Changed
So-
my life.
That was year 29, wasn't it?
I think so, yes.
Year 30. Still going out doing investigations with our best, he's more of a brother than he is a friend.
Yes, he is.
But doing investigation at his place, going out there to eat, and it seems like whenever you cook food is when they show up.
Steak, potatoes.
Yeah. And got into a few long distance helps with some people out in Oregon. Met a few other investigators in Oregon. Met KG. Met a guy in, out of Atlanta, out of Georgia, near Atlanta. Actually, I met 2. That one on the east side of Atlanta, one on the west side of Atlanta. Met some other investigators. Started, doing the videos here on YouTube, doing all that stuff, and then it led to the 30th year. And the 30th year, which was last year, something like that, or a couple of years ago.
Mm-hmm.
We've still doing the Bigfoot thing, helping people when they need it, not going out and helping them, but giving them ideas to put lights out And if you look at my house, I've got 2 lights here on this side of the house. I got one in the garage. I got a dusk to dawn. And then on the front of the house, we've got bright lights on the front at the front door, and then on the end of the house. I don't take any chances when it comes to Bigfoot coming through this yard. I don't want her walking out going to work one morning when it's still getting dark, or still dark, and her going to work and one of them suckers coming up and scaring the daylights out of her, or trying to harm her or whatever. I don't care. I'm not going to let that happen. And lights help a lot. And they might figure them out, but if you keep adjusting them where they can't figure it out, then they'll soon move away. And there's other things around this house that are set out that if they come around here and they set one of them off, they'll figure out pretty quick they shouldn't be here. But you know, I'm just helping people now through the phone, via the phone. But I've been invited. I have heard about a Wendigo that might possibly be in Kentucky. And if I get a phone call tonight, I might go out on it, if it's all right with my wife. She will not be going on that one. But that's 30 years of Bigfoot, and it's still an ongoing thing, even at the wonderful age of 52. People still call. People need help all the time. These creatures are coming out of the woodwork, coming out of the caves. They're not afraid like you used to be. And people need help. And as long as people need help, I'll be willing to do it. And I want to give you a heads up. In August, we're going to go down and do an investigation in Kentucky. We're going camping, but we're going to do an investigation with a team of investigators and possible Gugway. The Gugway are the ones that I say that are what I call it's an Indian word. It means face eater, but Gugway are the types that they got fangs, not fangs, but their incisors actually stick outside their lip. They ain't all the way up here to their nose. They're just pressing on the top lip a little bit. And they're willing to kill humans. I'll give you the full details after we do the investigation. It'll be next month, first of the next month when we put that one out. But we got other videos to put out here too. And I hope y'all enjoy this. And if you need help, feel free to call me. You need answers, feel free to call me. My phone number is across many of the videos. You can reach me through Facebook under Old Bear's Den. You can reach me via an email that's on the channel, which is oldbearsden2019 at gmail.com. You're more than welcome to reach me through that. And if you need help or just some answers, or to hear somebody say that you're not crazy, because you're not. If you're dealing with these creatures or dog men, you're not crazy. There's ways to keep them away and to make sure they leave you alone. But that's been 30 years of my life, and it's still going on. Where I'm probably getting close to 35 years. Maybe we'll do another video 31 through 35. It won't be too eventful, I hope. But that's been 30 years. And thank you, honey, for being my interviewer today. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure, totally.
So, ladies and gentlemen, hope you enjoy this video. And if you need me, call me, email me, text me, whatever. Thank you all for watching, and I hope you enjoy it. Bye now. Go ahead and shut off, baby.